Just have to do something.
When I started Microsoft, I didn't think of it as all that risky. I mean, I was so excited about what we were doing. It's true I could have gone bankrupt, but you know, I had a set of skills that were highly employable, and in fact, my parents were still willing to let me go back to Harvard and finish my education if I wanted to.
You've always got a job with me, Bill.
And the thing that was scary to me wasn't quitting and starting the company. It was when I started hiring my friends and they expected to be paid. And then we had customers who went bankrupt, customers that I'd counted on to come through. And so then I got this incredibly conservative approach that I wanted to have enough money in the bank to pay a year's worth of payroll, even if we didn't get any payments coming in. And you know, I'm almost true to that the whole time. We have about 10 billion now, which is pretty much enough for the next year. Anyway, you know, if you're going to start a company, it takes so much energy that you know it better overcome your feeling of risk. I don't think that you necessarily, if you're going to start a company, should do it at the start of your career. I think there's a lot to be said for working for a company, learning how they do things. You know, if you're young, it's hard to go lease premises. They made that hard for me. You couldn't rent a car when you were under 25 at the time, so I was always taking taxis to go see customers. And the people would, you know, people would say, well, we're going to go have a discussion in the bar. Well, I couldn't go to the bar. But you know, that's fun, because I'll tell you, when people are first skeptical and they think, oh, this kid doesn't know anything, then when you show them you've really got a good product and you know something, they actually tend to go overboard and they think, whoa, you know, they know a lot. Let's really do an incredible amount with these people. So our youth, at least in this country, was a huge asset for us once we reached a certain threshold. It is hard. It's hard to hire older people because they'll be a little bit conservative about whether they should come and take the risk. And it took 3 or 4 years before we could go out into the normal sort of employment pool. But those problems that come with starting a firm, you better think of those as part of the pleasure, part of the challenge that is part of the excitement.
Fundamental connection to doing business is basically relationships. You know, people really, if you really think about it, people want to do business with people they like. I mean, every now and then you'll do a deal with the devil, but you don't really like the devil, but you do it sometime. But you'd really much rather do business with somebody you like, somebody who shares your values, somebody who you know is committed to the same objectives you are, somebody who's willing to work as hard as you are. And when you find those people, those are the people you want to bring under your tent to be part of your business objective. And you've got to do that by, you know, sort of presenting yourself in a way that people clearly understand that you are committed to creating value. Business people want to create value. It doesn't mean they don't want to have fun, doesn't mean that they don't want to be involved in other kinds of things, but if you can go to someone and convince them that I can help you create value, and by your ability to articulate that and to communicate it, and to give people the impression that you will work as hard as they will to create that value, you're going to find people wanting to come to you. And so for me, it's sort of been like that throughout my whole career, is being able to say to people and talk to people in a way that convinces them that I am going to do everything I can to help make what they want to achieve a success, and by extension, I'm going to be a success. When I started BET, the guy who invested in BET is a guy named John Maloney. He was at that time the operator of the third largest cable company in Denver, Colorado. And he kept investing money into BET without taking additional equity. And as BET became a big success, you know, I ended up with about 75% of the company. He ended up with about 25% of the company. And one day I asked him, I said, John, you put over $500,000 in BET on the startup. You put it in as debt. You didn't put it in as equity, which would have given him greater ownership. I said, why'd you do it that way? And he said, Bob, I always knew you would work harder for yourself than you would for me. And it was that kind of commitment. So if you can convey to people that you're willing to work hard for them and for yourself, you've got a business partner. You're connecting the dots.
Well, you get there through, one, believing in yourself. As you know so well, when we started, we had $700, made it day-to-day barely, but we believed what we did was the very, very best. And it goes on the premise, if you realize that you're going to run across a lot of rejection. I say this time in and time out. Be prepared for the rejection, no matter how bad it is. Don't let it overcome you or influence you. Keep on going towards what you want to do, no matter what. No matter whether your bills are paid, not paid, someone says no 1,000 times. Again, go back to be as enthusiastic on door number 100 as you were on door number 1. But believe in yourself. And it's really all about knowing you have a great service or a great product that'll put you in the reorder business. So you're never selling, you're trying to get it in someone's hands, whether it's a service or a product, knowing it's so darn good that they're gonna wanna order it again or tell a friend about it to order it. And that's the real secret there.
A lot of us are in the circumstances when it's starting where there ain't no plan B. Shit gotta work. If it don't work, what's gonna happen? You know, so if you're in that point and position, you go, what's working? And you start to get influence or you sway to what's actually working at the moment. And your music changes and starts to sound a little bit like what's happening on the radio right now. I've heard demo tapes from 10 different Lil Waynes that wasn't Lil Wayne. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, he got that shit down packed. That should sound like what Wayne did, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, right. And then it's tough. Like, how do you say that it's not good? If what's working right now is that. You know what I'm saying? So you go, damn, like it's good, but it's hard for me to really embrace it because you ain't Lil Wayne. Like, you want me to invest the money in the copy? No, man.
I want to thank Harvard for this honor. I'll be changing my job next year, and it will be nice to finally have a college degree on my resume. I applaud the graduates for taking a much more direct route to your degrees. For my part, I'm just happy that the Crimson called me Harvard's most successful dropout. I guess that makes me valedictorian of my own special class. I did the best of everyone who failed. But I also want to be recognized as the guy who got Steve Ballmer to drop out of business school. I'm a bad influence. That's why I was invited to speak at your graduation. If I'd spoken at your orientation, fewer of you might be here today.
One of the key components of growing a business is getting the necessary capital to grow. So if you start off where you own 100%, but you need more capital to grow the business, you may have to sell off 20%, 30%, depending on how you look at the business needs. Don't fear that. Don't be afraid about the notion that you might fall below 51% and therefore not be minority owned. Because being minority owned is the culture you set, is the focus you set, it's the service you make to serve the minority community, and it's your commitment to do what you can do best within the minority community. Keep in mind, if you go back to J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon probably owns less than 0.005% of Chase.
Right, he's the CEO.
He's the CEO. But no one will ever question whether or not he's in charge of Chase. But he's brought in capital as a publicly traded company to grow that business. So whether you get money from outside investors or whether you get money from friends or family, don't be afraid to take on capital, sell shares or restructure debt or trade preferred or common, whatever it is, because the notion is you want to be in charge of a growth company, if that's what you want to be, a company that can go to scale, a company that compete, and you need capital to grow. So if you want to stay above 51%, by all means, if you can do it and don't sell your equity off, do it. But if you have to, because you got a great strategic partner that could bring something to the table and they want to be an equity player, and you end up with 50 or less than 50, you're still the CEO, you're still setting the vision for the company, you are achieving what you set out to do. And I think that's very important to understand, because we can't get to scale without growth capital.
I've been homeless twice in my life, and when you're down and out, it's not an easy thing. The first time I was homeless, I was 23 years old. Second time is when I started John Paul Mitchell Systems, and I was in my 30s. And started thinking how bad things are, and oh my God, things are bad. How do I exist in this bad situation? I looked at, how do I get out of it? One time, I had no money, had a car that had a broken radiator, had to keep on putting water in it, but I would go around collecting old soda pop bottles, take them in, 2 cents for a little one, 5 cents for a big one, get some money, and look for part-time jobs no matter what they paid. I wanted to get out of it. I didn't want to be, okay, I'm going to have to stay this way for a while, how do I survive? I look at how I got out of it, and by gosh, you can get out of it. America does work. You just have to do something.
I was ready in '97.
Right.
And I didn't have a major record company marketing to promote my project till 2003.
Right.
You know, so for that time period, I had to run on my own energy. You know, I had to convince myself that I'm gonna make it. You know, regardless of how people felt at that time. And what it does is it makes you feel like, well, it made me feel like there's gonna be points that people are gonna mistake my confidence for arrogance, because they don't understand the process I went through. Mm-hmm. And how much I had to believe in myself in order to make these things happen. I feel like you can will yourself into a good space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things that are meant to happen will. And if you believe in yourself enough, you can help yourself learn. You can inspire, yourself in different ways where you can actually discipline yourself. Mm-hmm. To the point that you can become good enough. Like from '97, like when I started writing, it was full time. Like every day I was writing music, because I had no choice. If I was gonna stop hustling, then how was I gonna provide or continue the lifestyle that I created for my son's mom, my son, and myself?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. We grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter, because we were becoming
right.
something greater.
I'm in meetings a lot. My calendar gets very full with those, and then at night, after the kids have gone to bed, I'm on email a great deal. I get messages during the day. That's my chance to give long responses. And then over the weekend, I send a lot of mail as well. I take 2 weeks a year to just go off and read and think, where I'm not interrupted by work or anything else. I'm just solidly trying to think about the future, and people get to send me things to read as part of that so-called Think Week. So it's a nice mix of things. About 25% of the time that I'm out traveling around, meeting with customers, Europe, Asia, and that sort of helps me think, okay, do we have the right priorities? What are people responding well to, and what would they like to see us do better?
I may not be smart, but I'm not stupid. So I got the check first. And then I said, John, I've never started a business. What advice can you give me? But I had a check by then. He said, Bob, get your revenues up, keep your costs down.
Okay.
That was my 501 business school class. Mm-hmm. And ever since that time, every business I start, revenues up, costs down. Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
All right, thank you.
Big businesses where you can get your revenues up, keep your costs down. And if you can find a recurring income stream, like a cable company called BET, the guys pay you, the cable operators pay you for the programming, the advertisers pay you to advertise within the programming, and the record companies give you the videos free, you'd have to be pretty dumb to lose money on a business like that. So
it's a combination of, one, the product, but you could also have the best product in the world, but unless you tell people about it, get them to use it, it's just going to sit there. So it's a combination of a couple of things. One, that product was exceptional. Same with Patron Tequilas, Paul Mitchell, or John Paul Pett. Exceptional product. But then one must do what those that maybe aren't quite as successful, don't want to do, whatever it takes. Work 7 days a week from early morning till late at night. A lot of rejection comes your way, overcome that rejection, and know that what you have is so good, eventually you'll get through it. Eventually you'll get in the reorder business.
These are the things you go through make you who you are. So I don't regret those things. I don't regret them because I don't think I'd be who I am today if I wasn't exposed to those situations. If you ask me, would I, those are unfortunate situations that I've had to experience. And if I had a choice, I would have definitely went in a different direction. I might have wanted to go to school for business instead of having to go through this portion of my life.
There's a concept that I don't want to be an icon. I want to be an idea. You know, I want to represent an idea. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent magic, right? That you're in a universe and 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 only equals 4 if you accept that 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 is going to be what I want it to be. You know, and there's a redemptive power that making a choice has, you know, rather than feeling like you're at effect to all the things that are happening. Make a choice. Like, you just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. It's like, it's water. It wants to move and go around stuff, you know. So for me, I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, and I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and you know, it's hard to put into words, real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense, but I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
Key to building relationship and so-called connecting the dots is make your friends before you need them. And that means that first impression, that first interaction you have with somebody is sort of like a stamp of approval. And if you do that with someone and they like you, and then they in turn tell somebody else they like you, that's where the dots start coming, because somebody will say, I know Damien, good guy. So I respect the guy who told me that. So all of a sudden now, he's transferred his stamp of approval on you over to me. And that's how it happens.
No matter how much you feel like you're prepared for something, it never happens on your time, like when you think you're ready, like it's supposed to happen. It always happens when it's supposed to happen. Because the period that you feel ready and people are not acknowledging the material the way you feel like they should because it's good, is the time that you actually develop skin thick enough to survive when it does work.
Difference between depression and joy, right? And I think it's purpose, right? It's like when you wake up in the morning and your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose. If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that like to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your church, to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
The key point there is you've got to enjoy what you do every day. And for me, that's working with very smart people. It's working on new problems. You know, every time we think, hey, we've had a little bit of success, we're pretty careful not to dwell on it too much because the bar gets raised.
The one thing I think we have to do is we've got to get smart about consumption. We have got to start saving. When I went to graduate school at Princeton, and I took one course in economics, and there's one term that I learned. It's called, and you guys should remember this one, it's called the marginal propensity to consume. The marginal propensity to consume is that you consume way beyond your margin of wealth. And you know what they call that? Debt.
Yeah.
We have more debt than any other group in America. Ergo, we have less savings. Without savings, you can't invest. Without investments, you can't accumulate wealth. We have got to postpone sort of what I call just unnecessary, impulsive consumption and focus on savings. And until we get to that point, we're not going to have enough wealth to invest.
I'm not interested in the financial outcomes. I want to continue success, but there's no specific mark of finances to the work. Because to be honest with you, if I'm sitting here with you a year from now, 2 years from now, and they're like, you did it, you're a billionaire, I'm gonna still be saying, yeah, but I got another idea.
Right.
I got a new idea, and it's what I think is representation of a person who's truly ambitious. Because ambition isn't a learned behavior, it's a part of your natural character, and you'll always find something to be passionate about, or a new goal, or a new... You see guys sell companies $5-6 billion and go, yeah, okay, now what's the next one?
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it.
Yeah.
Period. It's that simple.
I know who I am, and I know what I believe.
I know who I am, I know what I believe.
That's all I need to know.
And that's all I need to know. So from there, you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what happens is we make this situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be
Absolutely.
something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
No.
As most of you know, I have always been vocal about economic opportunity for African Americans. I am what you might call a serial entrepreneur. I get a vision about something that should be done, usually in an area where African Americans are economically underrepresented, and I try my best to create a business solution to help address these social and economic problems.
Do the best we can with what we have. See, we want to live in the now. And usually when you're down and out or having difficulties, your mind is working very fast. Not your being, your mind is working very fast. And it's working off a lot of nows from the past. So a lot of experiences from the past and worries of what may happen in the future are going through your mind. Well, if you could eliminate that by saying, okay, there's nothing to do about the past, that's done. Yesterday's newspapers, can't change them. And who knows for sure what's going to happen in the future. Let's be here right now, take what resources we have right now, act upon them, and act towards a good future goal.
So you were actually going along the street trading in, bottles to get a nickel a piece?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in those days, actually it was the second time I was homeless, okay? But in those days, you got 2 cents for a little pop bottle, 5 cents for a big one. In every grocery store and every liquor store, you would just bring them to them and they give you the money. And you do what you have to exist if times are lean. But at least this nation affords us that opportunity. If you know where you're at, well, how can I best make it to survive? Not, oh, poor me. How do I entrench myself for long-term survival? It's how do I survive right now and get myself to the next step? That's the attitude you have to have.
I'm a rapper. Entrepreneur, a person that has doesn't see limitations. I'm a person who has high expectations of myself, and when I actually start to look at some of the things that I've accomplished, and I become a little more interested in my legacy, like what people remember me as is what made it more important that I involve myself in philanthropy. Because the people that resonate the strongest in their absence have done more for people when they were actually in good positions.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be. I definitely found that wanting to be an actor stems from wanting to be somebody.
I talked to my dad, I talked to Warren, I talked to my wife Melinda. So I have enough people that know me and actually know where my judgment isn't its strongest, where I might get overexcited about something or, forget to think about something. And so they're good at correcting, particularly Melinda, good at correcting whatever those blind spots are. And I think it's good to encourage your friends and advisors to really give them that license. I can go to a party and forget to say hello to various people or something. That's a very minor example of my blind spots.
Not to the hostess.
Well, Melinda would help me do that.
Yeah, she would,
so, a small number of people that you can turn to on certain key things is a great asset.
I mean, if you're running the same business as somebody else, the first thing I would do is sit down and talk about, can we merge and get the scale? That's the first thing I would do. There's no way in the world, if I were running a company, let's say I was in the security business, providing security to companies. And then there's another guy named Fred who had a security company, and another guy named, a person named Mary who had a security company. 3 security companies all vying for the contracts. I would say, why don't we merge, get the scale, reduce our overhead costs, and go out and become the preeminent security firm in the city of Charlotte. There's no way in the world I would be competing against that. That's the first thing I would do.
Starters, we know we have a darn good product, but if we take the time with ourselves and our staff to go in there and tell them all the ways to use it and reassure them not as only a good product, but here's how you use it to create a good salon experience, or the consumer when you take it home to keep your hair the same in between visits, you fill a need in the marketplace. One, there's a need, of course, to buy a product or another product, but the next one is you must constantly remind them how to use it properly, which makes you a little different. Now granted, maybe there's another one used the same way, but nobody told them. We're amazed at times when people are using some of our finest products and didn't know there's other ways to use it also. It's through education. You must constantly reinforce the education and why it's so good.
It's why I'm here. There's nothing that can actually compare to when it's right. What it feels like when it's right. The music is just dead right, and it's like that energy that's there, man, it's a special kind of high that you get addicted to, and you'll chase it for the rest of your actual career. When you feel that feeling, whether it's your first album, second album, third album, just the single, because a lot of artists have a career long enough for one song, but when you feel what that feeling is, you ain't gonna replace it.
Only thing that I can see, and you can never really look at yourself, the only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill, right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked,
right?
Period.
Yeah.
You might have more talent than me, you might be smarter than me, you might be sexier than me, you might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple, right? So let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. It's going to be 2 options.
I'm going to get back in or I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. You know, he got two. Ooh, God, he hustled, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
My best business decisions really have to do with picking people. You know, deciding to go into partnership with Paul Allen is probably at the top of the list. And then subsequently hiring a friend, Steve Ballmer. And having somebody who you totally trust, who's totally committed, who shares your vision and yet has a little bit different set of skills, and also acts as a check on you. You know, some of the ideas you come up with, you run by them because you know they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, have you thought about this and that? And just, you know, the benefit of sparking off of somebody who's got that kind of brilliance, it's not only made it fun, but it's really led to a lot of the success. So picking a partner is crucial.
Have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you can overcome obstacles, if you don't believe you have the work ethic, if you don't believe you have the inner confidence to project to other people, it'll never happen. Because part of starting a business is not only having the vision of an idea, you've got to build around you a team of stakeholders who believe in you. People follow leaders. People invest in leaders. People support people who have a vision and are willing to and are able to articulate it, and not just the ability to, you know, a lot of people got a good gift for gab. It's the ability to convince people that you're going to be part of something that's going to be successful. You're going to share in the success. It's going to be beneficial to you and your family in the long run. You're going to be respected for what you contribute, and you're going to have an opportunity to fulfill your own dreams consistent with the dreams of the person you're working with. If you can convey that sense of confidence and that sense of leadership and focus on giving people an opportunity to grow and be successful with you, you're going to have people, and I mean really smart people, coming to be a part of what you do.
Brought it down to the perspective of a person that's in a staff meeting that is watching someone else raise their hand to answer a question that they know the answer to. And that means that person deserves to be ahead of you in life, because your fear of being wrong at that point is not allowing you to create your value.
The separation of talent and skill is one of the greatest misunderstood concepts for people who are trying to excel, who have dreams, that want to do things. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. There's no easy way around it. No matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled. You know, if you don't study, if you don't work really hard and dedicate yourself to being better every single day, you'll never be able to communicate with people.
One habit that I developed when I was at college, that was actually a very bad habit, which was I like to show people that I didn't do any work and that I didn't go to classes and I didn't care. And then at the very last minute, like 2 days before the test, I'd get serious about it. And people thought that was funny. You know, that was my positioning, the guy who did nothing until the last minute. Then when I went into business, That was a really bad habit. And it took me a couple of years to get over that. Nobody praised me because I would do things at the last minute, and I tried to reverse to students I didn't think that highly of, who were always organized and had things done on time. I'm still working on it, but procrastination is not a good habit.
Bill can change clothes in the car.
Imagine a group of people go to a restaurant and they start eating. Well, they don't have enough money to pay the bill. So when the waiter comes with the bill, they don't want to pay it. They don't want to make the sacrifice of paying. So they keep ordering. And that's what we're doing. We just keep piling on debt and keep piling on costs because we don't want to make the hard choices.
We hire people at Patron or John Paul Mitchell Systems. The people we hire do more than one thing. We purposely give someone the responsibility of several positions. They're paid extremely well. We take more than good care of them, but it gives them the opportunity to be in something that if times are ever tough, you don't have to eliminate anybody. They can migrate into a variety of things because they're already doing it. Now, as business thinks about this and they start hiring people from the beginning with fewer moving parts, we probably have 1/4 the amount of staff that our competitors have, per capita and per what we do in business, but we hire where you do more than one thing. In fact, I think it's one of the things that's going to make America great. It made America great in the past. It hasn't been quite as great as it could be, but it will be in the future, where people, instead of getting one job to do one thing all the time, that they draw it out because it gets so boring, they do 2 or 3 things. All of a sudden, they're happy with what they're doing, they're excited about it, and their day is full.
Guys, this is crazy. I grew up without money, but I didn't grow up hungry. What's going on in this world is out of control. I mean, there's so many people suffering from hunger. I mean, dying from hunger every day. I went to Africa, and the devastation I witnessed changed me forever. I mean, to see people who don't know when they're gonna receive their next meal or if they're gonna receive their next meal, it's crazy. I wanna feed 1 billion hungry people, and I need your help to do that. This is our world, these are our streets. I need your energy. Let's do this.
Motivated by fear.
Fear.
Fear
of what?
Fear of fear. I hate being scared to do something. I hate that feeling of the feeling that I had before I had a meeting with Quincy Jones, because it was really Quincy Jones and a guy named Benny Medina and Jeff Pollock came with the idea for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I hated being scared, that I didn't want to even take the meeting. There were opportunities during when my first year as a rapper. Bill Cosby and the people on the Cosby Show had seen my music video and called me to
be a character
to come and try out for the Cosby Show. And just every time it was set up, for some reason I couldn't make it.
The fear of fear.
The fear. I just hated that, being scared to do something. And I think what developed in my early days was the attitude that I started attacking things that I was scared.
Look at businesses who can provide support to your business at a cost below what you're paying somebody else. And if you don't have the money for that, but it'll help you jumpstart your business, give them equity. Trade equity for the service provider. It happens all the time. When I started BET, I needed cable distribution. Some of the cable, Time Warner, at that time said, yeah, we'd like to be an investor, but we also want equity. We'll give you our carriage, but we want equity. And that's another way to build a relationship. Doesn't take capital, just you got to have confidence, but when you provide a service, that service is going to help this business grow. Your 10% equity, whatever the trade is going to help you grow.
Long-term entrepreneurship is liking what you do, who you do it with, and who you do it for. If you're not having fun, then you're only in business to make some money. I still work. I work every single day, but I love what I do, so I have fun. So it became a lifestyle. When you're working, it becomes work. It's not fun. When you're working becomes part of your lifestyle because you like it, it's fun. I look forward to calling on salons. I look forward to walking in some place and say, thank you for using Paul Mitchell. I look forward to walking into a cocktail lounge. Wow, thank you for having Patron on the menu. To people in the hip hop industry, thank you for singing about Patron. In the country and western industry, thank you for doing this. In other words, I like it so much that I appreciate so much also the people that like it too. It's a lifestyle and it's a good one. So if an entrepreneur can make a lifestyle that they like with the people they want to deal with part of their business, it'll be long-term and it will prosper because you are having fun. Everyone wants to have fun.
The things you go through make you who you are. So I don't regret those things. I don't regret them because I don't think I'd be who I am today if I wasn't exposed to those situations. If you ask me, would I, those are unfortunate situations that I've had to experience. And if I had a choice, I would have definitely went in a different direction. I might have wanted to go to school for business instead of having to go through this portion of my life. No matter how much you feel like you're prepared for something, it never happens on your time, like when you think you're ready, like it's supposed to happen. It always happens when it's supposed to happen. Because the period that you feel ready and people are not acknowledging the material the way you feel like they should because it's good, is the time that you actually develop skin thick enough to survive when it does work. I'm not interested in the financial outcomes. I want to continue success, but there's no specific mark of finances to the work. Because to be honest with you, if I'm sitting here with you a year from now, 2 years from now, and they're like, you did it, you're a billionaire. I'm gonna still be saying, yeah, but I got another idea.
Right.
I got a new idea, and it's what I think is representation of a person who's truly ambitious. Because ambition isn't a learned behavior, it's a part of your natural character, and you'll always find something to be passionate about, or a new goal, or a new... You see guys sell companies $5-6 billion and go, yeah, okay, now what's the next one? It's why I'm here. There's nothing that can actually compare to when it's right, what it feels like when it's right. The music is just dead right, and it's like, that energy that's there, man, it's a special kind of high that you get addicted to, and you'll chase it for the rest of your actual career. When you feel that feeling, whether it's your first album, second album, third album, just a single, because a lot of artists have a career long enough for one song, but when you feel what that feeling is, you ain't gonna replace it. I brought it down to the perspective of a person that's in a staff meeting that is watching someone else raise their hand to answer a question that they know the answer to. And that means that person deserves to be ahead of you in life, because your fear of being wrong at that point is not allowing you to create your value.
Like, a lot of people have asked me, like, how do I get to this where I'm at? It's my belief. Like, I believe so strong, so crazy. It's like to believe, the power in belief.
What do you believe in the most?
God. I believe in God the most. And after that, myself.
Talk about the doubt you've had in yourself. You're human.
No, I've never doubted myself. I go into it knowing I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers that ever lived. Not even in a cocky way. I just feel like I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers that ever walked the face of the earth. And that's just how I am. Because I feel I am one of the baddest motherfuckers that ever walks the face of the earth. That's just a fact. That's just a pure fact.
Yeah, one of the most important things is that day, I would say, my advice is for people to kind of ramp it up, because a lot of times when you're young and you're in your 20s or something, you're like, I don't really know what I want to do. But we live in a different world. It's important for you to know what you want to do for the future of your family. So it's a scary thing to make that decision. This is what I want to do. But the sooner you make that decision, I think the better it'll be for your life, you know, and a better chance of success you'll have. Because you'll have more time to mess up. Right. You have more time to fall down.
Loved what I was doing. I decided if I was going to do a job, I loved what I was doing. I would walk around, and I would dance and sing as I was delivering my papers, and that kind of helped me for the future of what I wanted to do. And that was just being a young entrepreneur. I thank God every day that I'm blessed with the chance to do something that I love doing. But I feel anybody could do something that they love doing if they go after it in the right way, if they go after it with the love. If the motivation for it is the love and the love of leaving a legacy behind more than the selfishness of just doing it for money or doing it to blow up or to be the man or the woman or to have the fame. If you do it to make history, if you do it to change people's lives, to make people feel good, to make yourself feel good, it's just gonna come naturally.
You cannot achieve success without failure. Some of my biggest successes come from some of my biggest failures. In the early 90s, when my friends were graduating from Howard, I got fired from that first job that I got with Andre Harrell. I know a lot of you know this story, but some of you may not know how scared I was. See, I was scared to death. I didn't have a degree. My girlfriend was 8.5 months pregnant with my first baby. I bought a brand new house in Scarsdale that I could not afford. So I found myself sitting alone in my bedroom and asking myself the question that sometimes we all ask each other. What are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do now? You should have kept your mouth shut and shut up and just did what Andre told you to do, but you wanted to act like you was making the hit rankings, and now look at you. What are you gonna do now? So I had two choices. Either I was gonna sit in that failure and give up, or I was gonna make a decision to step out of the darkness. You see, when you're in that darkness, you wanna sit there and wait for the light to come. When you're in that darkness, it feels uncomfortable, but you can't wait and sit in that darkness. The only way out is to step forward, to face your fears, to become your own light. I had to make a decision. I had to decide to become my own light. I had to believe in myself like never before. I had to find my inner power. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's gonna be a lot of times y'all about to fail. I'm still failing every day. We are all a work in progress. And one day, you'll be sitting in the dark like I was. And you're gonna be asking yourself, what am I gonna do now? Then you're gonna ask yourself again and slow it down. What am I gonna do now? But in that moment, I want you to remember the power of you. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that I also answered, you asked me a question earlier about fearlessness.
Yeah.
I remember you asked me this before when we were doing something in Cannes. And, you know, I told you, you have to be fearless. You know, you can't be afraid of anything.
Right.
And then, doing this cable network is probably, it's the hardest thing that I've ever done, yeah. Second to running a marathon, because I almost died running a marathon.
So the Chicago Marathon was on Sunday. I'm glad you didn't come in.
So, and I'll tell you that story another time when you have me back too. But, you know, so I'm in my office, you know, like a couple of months ago, and, you know, fear overcame me. Yeah. And I remembered that, you know, I'm fearless in a sense, but having some sort of fear is a part of fearlessness.
Yes.
So I think sometimes we don't tell that full story. People may not get it. It's all right to have some fears and some insecurities as you're going through it, but you have to push through that wall. It's almost like if there isn't a little bit of fear, then you can't be fearless.